Good evening, everyone. I take it that you had a restful and a productive weekend. My name is Tremaine. Um, I guess you can call me the host for this evening. I'll be leading through this eighth career day. Um, Basically, what Career Day is about, it aims to bring awareness to different fields in tech and provide an informal guide for how students and professionals can chart their own course in these fields or roles. This is not the only event that the Jamaican developer community hosts. We have a demo day and other targeted events throughout the year. A synopsis of the community. Basically, we are a set of creative thinkers, thought leaders, and innovators who love working together to solve common problems. We're transforming the Caribbean community from a consumer to a producer of technology. I want to take the opportunity now to thank our sponsors, Osub Limited, Vertis Technology Solutions Limited, and Particular Presence Technology Limited. They have been on board since the inception of these events, and we look forward to their continued support into the future. So let me give a brief synopsis of who I am. I'm Tremaine. I am a software developer. I've been doing software development for the past 8 years, mainly in financial institutions, government, and nonprofit organizations. I'm also a lecturer of computer science and software engineering at Vector Technology Institute. Not any event that comes along my way that I can participate, such as this, I lend my free time to chart the way for the future developers. And in this career day, hopefully some data scientists. I have on the call or having this meeting, O'Shane. He is also, he's a co-founder of the community, brilliant software engineer, and you can advance Asana. So brilliant software engineer. He is anything software development, you can turn to O'Shane and you can find the answer. I would say he is Jamaican Stack Overflow. Also on the call or also on the meeting, I have Latifa Smelly, communications officer extraordinaire in the Jamaica developer community. As it says, diplomatic persistence, creative and integrity driven with proven leadership on organizational skills, experience in software development, agile and Scrum technologies. So definitely she is, whilst a developer, she helps to organize a lot of the events that take place. She is the backbone of everything you see. So let's get right into it. We have our esteemed guest or speaker here, Chennel Williams. So let me talk about Chennel in a brief intro and have her take over right after. So Chennel is a self-taught data analyst with an amazingly unconventional path into tech. She enjoys exploring data to answer questions or predict an event. Her passion has led her to work in consultancy, where she gained valuable experience in various industries. During her free time, Chennel is either helping others to achieve their tech career goals or trying out a new restaurant in her city. Let's hope it's not Kingston or Mother's Patties. So with that said, we want to express our heartfelt thank you for her volunteering her time. And we remind the audience to drop any questions in the chat during her presentation. So thank you, Chennel, and everyone for coming out. Over to you, Chennel.
Thanks for that lovely introduction, Tremaine. And it is Kingston, actually, and I do like Mothers. Just
okay, I stand corrected.
All right, well, thanks for coming, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Chennel Williams, and I am indeed a self-taught data analyst. My path is very unconventional because I actually graduated in 2019 with a degree in biology. And after graduating, I realized that my only options were to either go to grad school or medical school, vet school, yada, yada, yada. And I really didn't want to do that. So I took a gap year after college to figure out what I wanted to do. And during that gap year, I wanted to keep my mind sharp. So I decided to teach myself Python. While learning Python, I realized that I really enjoyed it and I thought it was really cool to be able to build things. And I started to look at different career paths that I could take to use Python, which is something that I enjoy doing. And that's how I found data science and specifically data analytics. So fast forward about a year, I moved back home to Jamaica, and I decided to fully commit myself to learning data analytics through a program, an online course program called Udacity. They have a data analytics nano degree. It took me about 3 to 4 months to finish that. And after finishing that and getting the certificate, I was lucky enough to land an internship at a Canadian startup. And then that led me to a contract role, which led to a full-time role, which led to me transitioning into my current role as a data analyst at a local company called Brainz. So now that you kind of have a better understanding of like my career path thus far to getting to where I am, we can talk about like what really data science is. An official definition is, it's an interdisciplinary field that is used to extract actionable insights from raw data. And really, that's just a pretty way of saying that we use data to be able to answer questions, solve problems, and improve processes. And under the umbrella of data science, you have various career paths that you can take. You can be a data analyst like myself. You can become a data scientist, which is essentially a data analyst that goes on to actually build like machine learning models. And you can also choose to be a data engineer, and they focus more on the beginning part of the data analysis process, which we'll get into in a few moments, to focus more on like pulling data, extracting data, cleaning it, and then developing pipelines to be able to have a good workflow of the data from one end to another end. Some applications of data science that you might not even realize are actual applications of data science are like in healthcare. You have disease prediction, so your doctor might be able to look at certain factors and say, hey, you might be at an increased risk of developing diabetes based on historical data. Another industry is entertainment. So we all watch Netflix, or I'm assuming we all watch Netflix or use Spotify, and they have recommendation systems built within them to be able to suggest certain content for you to interact with based on your historical data. Another industry that data science has an application in is finance, to be able to detect fraud. So for credit card purchases specifically, your company, your financial institution might be able to say, hey, based on this person's historical data, they typically make these purchases. This one should be flagged because this is not something that they usually do. So those are some applications of data science that I thought I would mention as a means of being able to really cement in your mind that data science is very applicable to everyday life. And in my opinion, is very, very important and will go far using it. So what do I do as a data analyst? Essentially, I go through this process of a data analysis process of asking questions, or sometimes questions are asked of me. For example, a question that I've gotten before is who are the top sales representatives for this specific branch or over all the branches? And what I have to then do is take that question, ask some more questions, obviously, to be able to make sure that I understand exactly what is required of me, and then go and figure out if the data that is needed for me to do this analysis, if it's already available, if I have to collect it, the means of collecting it, and then I have to go through a process of cleaning it and making sure that I can use it in my analysis. And then once it's clean and structured, I then explore it to see if I can pick up any trends or patterns, remove any outliers in the data, and then that leads me to be able to draw insights, typically using statistics, and then being able to use other tools like Python or Power BI for visualization. And then I'll be able to communicate my insights with those same tools by creating visuals, so graphs and charts and all of that good stuff. That's where I typically build like dashboards or reports to be able to present my findings to the necessary stakeholders. It's not always a linear process. Sometimes I have to go back and forth depending on what project I'm on, but it's just all a part of it. So what is required of becoming, or what is required to become a data analyst? You, like most tech roles, you typically have soft skills that are needed. So a curious or analytical mind. Obviously, to be a data analyst, you have to be able to look at things from various perspectives. Good written and verbal communication, which will come very handy in situations where you have to present to stakeholders, and being able to, again, present dashboards or reports in means that is easily understood, depending or regardless of the audience that is being presented to. Problem solving, which typically comes in whenever there is any coding involved, and you can do some bit of coding as a data analyst, but it really just depends on what your role requires of you. Teamwork is very important because you're not just interacting with persons within your department. You have to speak to people from other departments within a company, whether it's marketing or sales or audit. You have to be able to have a conversation with them and work together to understand what data is being produced in their departments and how you'd be able to help them to leverage that data to improve a process or, again, solve a problem. Some technical skills that might come in handy or will come in handy is if you learn a programming language like Python or R. Either one is fine. There's a whole debate in the community about which one is better. It really just depends on whichever one is easier for you to learn. Another technical skill would definitely be learning a data visualization tool like Power BI or Tableau. And again, that really just depends on whichever you're most comfortable with. Other skills, statistics is important. It's not necessarily a hard skill to learn, but you will use it and apply it to be able to pull certain insights from data and then be able to answer those questions that are asked of you. And then finally, if any of that interests you and you're interested in becoming a data analyst or trying to figure out what career path in data science to take, what I would suggest you do is think about your interests. That will definitely come in handy at the beginning of your journey to becoming a data science professional, because you're able to build projects based on whatever you're interested or passionate about. And that becomes a lot easier for you to be able to showcase your skills, because a portfolio with several projects is one of the most important things for you to have. Definitely suggest learning programming language, as I said, either Python or R, and then SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. That's also very important to our skill to have as a data analyst, because you need to be able to, or it's used to be able to extract data from a database. And that's obviously very important in the role. Learn either Power BI or Tableau, as I mentioned before, as a visualization tool. And again, as I previously mentioned, building and sharing projects that you've done is very, very important. And the most important skill, which I think is applied to all tech roles or all roles in general, would be to leverage LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is such an underrated social media platform, but it can really, really help you, especially if you're transitioning into technology, because you're able to see and network with a lot of people who are in various roles that you might be curious about or interested in becoming. And then you can speak to them, you can learn about what they do in their day-to-day, and then they might even be able to help you to get a job. So definitely go out and get a LinkedIn profile if you don't already have one. And in Jamaica, typically, just sliding this in there, if you're looking to become a data analyst, a typical salary range is between about 2.5 to above 3.2. Is based on what I've seen and my personal experiences. So yeah, I would strongly suggest anybody that has an analytical mind, if it comes naturally to you, definitely think about how you can navigate yourself into becoming a data science professional, because it's, in my opinion, it's pretty awesome. And then I can leave the floor open for any questions that anybody might have for me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chennel, for that very spicy and informative presentation. So I'll just jump out right out the gate, but I'm going to just give the opportunity for others to ask any questions as it relates to data science and anything else you would have mentioned in the presentation. So the floor is open to anyone, or you can type in the chat if you are a little bit shy, mic shy at this point in time. I think we'll have Asana. She has raised her hand.
Okay, so question. So is it that you use a lot of the coding, like the R or the Python in what you're doing, or you have other tools that are easier, that makes your work easier, or do you have to do like strict coding?
You don't necessarily have to do strict coding. In my first full-time role, it was more coding intensive. So I was using Python and SQL a lot more. But in my current role, we more use like Power BI to be able to draw insights. So no, it's not a hard requirement for you to have to know a programming language. It just helps you a whole lot when you're looking for a specific role.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Asana. I'm going to, let me just quickly, all right, so you can continue to drop your questions in the chat. And we have some persons join us from YouTube. Thanks a lot for taking the time out to come and listen and share with Chennel Williams at this time. I'm going to, I see, well, Demar had his hand up, but I believe he lowered it. So I'm going to take Carrie on English, her question at this point in time.
I have two. First one is
You have two. Sorry, no problem.
What would you recommend we do to build a portfolio? What should be in our portfolio as a data analyst?
I think it's very important to just, as I said in my tips, think about something that interests you. So when I was looking for a job, what I did was I collected data on real estate, so Jamaican house prices, and I was able to do an analysis and create a machine learning model to kind of predict prices in Jamaica. And I published that, and I was able to get a lot of traction from that. So again, so look at things that you're interested in and then ask yourself some questions, and then you'll be able to find data. And if you can't find data readily available for you, that's even better, because then that allows you to be able to learn how to collect data, whether it's through web scraping, which is more like a programming thing, or to maybe create a survey to collect data. So to build your portfolio, just think about things that interest you or things you're passionate about, and then you'll be able to come up with a project to showcase your skills.
And the last question, you said you started off with the medical, you left college with bio sciences. What courses did you do, maybe online or in person, wherever, to get you to where you are now?
So I actually did the Data Analyst nano degree through Udacity. It's an online program. To be honest, I finished most of the content in like the first month, but they have projects that they require you to do before you can complete the entire course. So that's what kind of make it draw to like 3-4 months. But yeah, that's what I did. And it's really comprehensive, and it covers a lot of the things that a lot of other courses don't cover, and it's very structured. So that helped me a whole lot learning about the different things that I needed to know.
All right, great. Thank you for that question. I'll just give the opportunity, I'll give Kimani the opportunity to ask this question, and then I'll jump back into the chat to see if there are any further questions.
All right, so let's say someone is a data analyst. What hard skills would they need to improve upon to like go into being a data engineer? Like, is it solely focusing on like Python and like, those type of intensive coding languages?
So based on what I've seen so far, yes, because it involves a lot of like building out data pipelines, which are really just like programs that pull data from a specific source or from several sources, and then it goes through a whole extraction. Well, that's the extraction part. It goes through a whole transformation and then loading it into a specific software or like a visualization tool. So I know a lot of data engineers know Java and Python, I want to say. So yeah, I would say those two languages. And then looking at certain softwares like Hadoop, I think, for like a data warehouse, or I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. But yeah, so look into like Hadoop, and then maybe learning Java and Python to help with that.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Kimani, for asking that question. All right, there was a question, I believe, Cassandra. She had asked, how do you build a relevant portfolio to highlight your skills in data analytics? I believe you had touched on that, Chennel. I don't mind you just reiterating the points you had shared before.
Yeah, no problem. So to build up your profile or your portfolio, definitely think about topics that interest you. As I mentioned before, what I did was my mother's a real estate agent, so I was very curious to see if I could build something to predict house prices or to predict the price of my house if it was listed on the market right now. So I went and I did a lot of research on how to scrape data from the internet or house prices. So it got things like number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, location, and like square footage. And then I was able to predict house prices using that data. And I published a web application that I was then able to share with the public, and they were able to see that, hey, Chennel actually knows how to do data extraction or web scraping. And she knows how to analyze and then build machine learning models to be able to predict house prices. So just find something that really sparks your interest, and then you'll be able to find data around it, or maybe you have to figure out how to collect the data around it and then do some analytics.
Okay. All right, great. And I like what you just said about finding something in it you're interested in. I won't galvanize or take over the time because I have a story on that, but I'm just going to segue into Cassandra's. She had another question, specifically asking, are there a lot of organizations that utilize data analytics here in Jamaica? And I think I'll hand that over to you, but for me, it's still something new. It's a new concept to a lot of companies in Jamaica. They have the data, they want to find insights, but they don't have the skill set. Chennel, maybe you can share your opinion on that to see if we are, meeting at the center, or do you disagree in some regard?
I definitely agree with you. Data is everywhere, and companies are generating data every second. I have seen now quite a bit of openings for data analyst roles, but it's still very few and far between. So I would still be on the lookout, because you really never know. A company might just post it, but to be honest, I'm not seeing a whole lot. It's still very new, as Tremaine said. So, I mean, yeah, still look out. And there are also options for like remote work in countries outside of Jamaica as well. So you don't necessarily have to limit yourself to Jamaica. Companies, if you have the skill set and you can prove to them that you're capable of getting the job done, then a company would be more than willing to hire you, especially with like the pandemic and everything, and everybody's remote now. So, yeah.
Okay.
right.
Hold on. Let me touch on this a bit. So there are companies that are actually invested heavily in data-driven models. In fact, there is, I don't remember if it's a Jamaican company or it's a Trini company, but also was in the court of incubator with couple data-driven company that offers service like what Google Analytics does, but their service more geared towards KYC, knowing your customer, knowing your knowing the market, and then tie that to business decision to drive innovation and profit. So I'm pretty sure they're hiring. I'll reach out to them and find out if there's any open position. But one of the things is that Jamaica, despite there's Caribbean jobs and LinkedIn and so forth, there's still a disconnect between people aware of that these jobs exist and that companies are really looking for people to fill these roles, and then these companies don't know where to look for these data scientists, mainly because it's not necessarily an established role in Jamaica. So at times you find that many of these companies that are looking for data scientists are looking elsewhere, because Jamaica, if you look at like in tech, you find that it's mostly like software engineers, designers, and so forth. So there's a limited pool of data scientists, limited pool of AI engineers, and so forth. So it's all about getting those two different type of the employers and the job seekers to really have a place that they can know that each other exists and there's a role to fill and someone is available to fill it. So that's something like the community is working towards, because I've identified where the disconnect between the two, and I'm pretty sure, like I said, there are plenty good amount of roles available. It's just not publicized, or people just don't know about it.
Indeed, O'Shane, indeed. All right, so I'm just going to tackle so I want to make a shout out again thanks for those who have joined us via YouTube. I think Raquel, she had posted in the chat link directly to the nano degree mentioned by Chennel. So you can click on that and you can go there, look at it, and see if that's the best fit for you. And by the way, Raquel is a part of Brainz, which is a data analytics company, if I'm not mistaken. So I fingers crossed, she's also looking for talent. So I'm not going to have you guys rush her, but you can keep her name in your minds when you think about, for me, especially whenever I think about data science, I'm thinking about Brainz Caribbean. All right, and that wasn't a that wasn't a plug for her company. So I know Damar raised his hand, so I'm going to ask Chennel to address the question raised by Javel, which is, what is the career trajectory like for an analytics role? Example, software dev. So how do you get into what was the trajectory, so to speak, to get into data analytics?
I wouldn't say you necessarily have to come from software development or engineering. I think if you can enter the space regardless of your background. I, again, came from a biology degree, and I decided to buckle down and I learned the skills, built up a portfolio, and then showed people, that I'm capable of doing the job. And that's what has kind of led to me being where I'm at. So there's no specific trajectory. If you want it, you can definitely achieve it. You just have to make up your mind and decide that you're going to learn the skills. That's really it, to be honest.
Okay, and I definitely agree with that approach. If you have the interest, if you already have a sense of where you are, then try it out and see if it's the best fit for you. All right, Demar, I'll hand the floor over to you to ask your question.
Hi, Evelyn. So I recently completed the Google Data Analytics course, and I'm starting to build my portfolio, but I'm only focusing on SQL and Excel, and I'm trying to battle between Tableau and Power BI because I'm trying to understand both of them, right? Because I realize that most companies in Jamaica doesn't know about Tableau. They mainly know about Power BI. So I would want to know should I focus on Power BI more than Tableau?
I think it goes back to what you are more comfortable with. But given that you said a lot of companies in Jamaica are more focused or centric on Power BI, then I would suggest sticking with Power BI if you're really wanting to get a job here. So yeah, I think that question is better answered by looking at where you want to be and what the industry is asking for. So I would definitely suggest for your situation, maybe Power BI would be a better bet for you to focus on.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Demar. Some interesting comments. Keep the comments and everything rolling in the chat. I believe I'm seeing some advice from Mr. Bennett around an article that was written, Why Jamaica Urgently Needs a Minister of Artificial Intelligence. So definitely what Chennel is speaking to, which is data analytics, kind of is a special friend to AI, because AI is that all-encompassing umbrella that looks at data to make specific decisions. And I believe, Chennel, you had mentioned I had mentioned in your bio that you use data to predict an event. So I think it's a good segue for what I'm about to talk about. Not very long, just a minute or two. So I was trying out all type of fields at one point in time. So obviously machine learning, AI, was this new kid on the block. So I said, okay, I asked the question, can I predict the next cashpot number? And I learned from that experience that it's what they call gambler's fallacy or fool's gold. But what was interesting is that the data, as you mentioned before, exists in the wild. So definitely Supreme Ventures, they provide you with all the data from all the draws, knowing that there's no way to predict uncertainty. So yes, the gamblers win, as somebody says. So thank you very much. So, but that's an interest. But I think from that experience for me, I think I learned a lot more about statistical analysis and so forth. So I don't think the experience was ever, it was never a loss. It was always a win-win situation. So when I hear people talk about data science and so forth, I can try and meander my way in the conversation without sounding too amateur, right? So definitely data is out there. As you had mentioned before, Chennel, you have opportunities to scrape data. And I think recently a law was passed, or not law, there was a judgment passed down to say that web scraping is not illegal. Not sure if it applies to our Jamaican jurisdiction. So whenever you're scraping data, just be mindful that maybe a website or entity has some policy around that on their website. But nonetheless, try to get the data, because that's basically the bread and butter for any kind of analytics career.
For sure.
Right.
And sorry, I just have to throw in there, read the terms and conditions of the website before you scrape their data, please.
Exactly. So if they but a good thing, and I think a point to note, there is an open data project that Jamaica has undertaken, where data around government or other industries is publicly available. So definitely the Consumer Affairs Commission, who monitors prices of items within Jamaica, provides their data openly. So that's interesting to see if there could be a visualization of how much has the price of bread increased over the last 10 years, and could that, kind of implicitly imply the inflation rate and things like that. And I think Chennel, she just dropped the link in her data.gov.jamaica. So they have data readily available, and so you can at least take a look at the data and do a quick deep dive and see what you come up with. I mean, it's all about exploration.
Okay, let me just also add, all right, so when you go on the open data portal for Jamaica, the data, you may find that the data is slightly outdated, meaning the last time it was updated, it was in 2018. Yes, so it's outdated data, but there's going to be new data already available between this year and next, sooner than later. I'm also actually contributing to getting that open data portal up. There's also the opportunity where there's going to be open data for legal like practices and documents. So that's something the ministry is working on, as well as the open data portal with collaboration with different parties like Statin and so forth. So you can look out for more data about violence, consumer goods, gas prices, and so forth on the data portal. We'll keep the community updated as I am updated with all of the changes to the open data portal.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thanks for that. That's great.
Yes. So just to, go ahead, Ocean.
Oh, and I also should mention, we actually kept open data day. I think it was last month or was it in March, Latifa? Oh, yeah. So sometime this year we kept open data day. We do have a video of the
March.
YouTube March. Yes, we do have a YouTube video of it where someone from UNICEF you report presented how they use the collect data, present data, and distribute it. Someone gave a demo on the different use cases of open data, as well as the open data portal. And Reese also did a data visualization on how we can just take simple data to manipulate it in some geospatial application to show like the tourists from different countries that are coming to Jamaica and where they live afterwards. So you showed a simple application of how to use data. And there was also a presentation from the ministry about their the direction of the open data portal. So I'll drop that YouTube link in the chat later, so you can take a look at it. So with that said, I'll hand over back to you, Tremaine.
All right, thanks, Ocean. And thanks for your comment, Bennett. AI data science doesn't tend to work without Google. That's correct. So once you're dealing with data or data analytics, we're talking about terabytes of data. Not to say that you can't get insights from a small amount of data, but definitely data is the manner of data analytics. So without data, there is no data analytics. All right, so thank you. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I am assuming that most, if not all, questions have been asked at this point in time, but you can still pose your questions in the chat. This is about sharing information at this point in time. But if you don't have any more questions, I'll just segue into an attempt to get some volunteers for the community. We're a pretty diverse set of individuals. We can wear many hats, but I believe we need more bodies to push the community forward. So we're making an appeal just to ask for volunteers. If you have some spare hour, 2-3 hours per week or day or whatever, we love to get you on board to help us out with some graphic design, events, and community marketing. We just want as many persons as possible to come and assist with some small tasks for content creation, social media, or editing event videos, so we can create some bite-sized infomercials that we can share on social media. So definitely you can reach out to the community. You can email us at community@caribbean.dev or reach out to us on social media if you're interested to be a part of the community. We have a Telegram group, so we can definitely invite you to participate in that group to share any information from this meetup or any other information that you have around IT and so forth. All right. So let me just double check to see if there are more questions. Can you share the pin and those links? Okay, sure. I believe Latifa can do that. She can just drop it in the chat. All right, so definitely we want as many persons. We want to grow the community as big and, so that if a company from overseas come, We don't want to be scrambling for talent, and we want a diverse enough set of individuals. And I think O'Shane sums it up pretty well whenever we have discussions. We want the Caribbean to be the next tech hub or the next Silicon Caribbean. I think I stole that from somebody else, not O'Shane. Right, but we want to be the Silicon Valley of the next Silicon Valley or the Silicon Caribbean. So definitely we want to move from content consumers to content producers. All right, so if there are no further questions, I would again make a big hearty thanks to Chennel for taking the time out to be a part of this career day, to let us know how do we get into a data analytics career, or the overall idea of what this thing called data analytics is. All right, and definitely you can email us at community@caribbean.dev, message us on social media to be a part of future events that we will be hosting, or any series. The next persons or individuals I want to thank is the audience. Thank you for taking the time out to be a part of this event. Without the audience, we don't think an event could be possible. And we want to remind you to look out for future events and be a part of them. Spread the word to all your friends. Even if they're not in computer science, there's always a place for them to be a part of this, just to hear and then spread the message. The next event that we have on our calendars is our May Career event, or our May Career Day, which will be on the 31st. All right, so look out for that, and I hope you can be a part of that also. All right, so last but not least, I want to thank our sponsors again, which are Osub Limited, Vertis Technology Solutions Limited, and a Particular Presence. I believe, yes, Particular Presence Limited. All right, so thanks again, everybody. And I do hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. God's richest blessings.